right, Public Works Committee meeting, Counselor Wilkerson,
Here.
Counselor Gear. Here. Counselor Sims,
Here.
Counselor Nelms. She left.
She had to leave.
And Counselor Harden.
Here.
So Nelms is absent, but you have a quorum.
All right. So we have 4, you said? Is that right?
You have a quorum.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
4.
Okay. Can I have a motion to dispense and
So
approve the
moved.
reading of the minutes?
Second.
Motion by Counselor Sims, second by Counselor Harden. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0, Melody.
Okay.
Old business 010220, request for Green Springs revitalization update. Mr. Squires, I know there were a few things we were waiting on. I don't remember if those, what was the last,
We are completed.
everything's,
Take this
We got one section of concrete that Brian's coming back, that 18-wheeler clipped, but other than that, everything else is complete.
all right.
Thank
Do you make a
God.
motion to draw?
I'm gonna
So
let
that's
somebody
signed
else.
over and everything?
Yep.
All right.
But I know you love having this placeholder on my committee.
It's time to move on.
All right.
Love affairs in.
Any, does anybody want to?
No, nobody wants to
Make a
say
motion?
anything. They want a motion that.
That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for some action here.
So the appropriate motion is to drop this item now, right?
Yeah.
Seems
So
like
I
it
would
would be.
make a motion to drop 01 to 02 20.
Second.
All right, motion to drop by Counselor Sims, second by Counselor Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. That is dropped. I feel like we should clap and celebrate. It's been like 2 years.
Thank you, Berkeley.
2.5.
It's more than that.
Old business, 150622, request for permission to work within the right-of-way on Reese Street, 16th Street, and alleys surrounding 1707 Reese Street. Mr. Smith, this has been carried over in committee a couple different times now.
Yeah, everybody's familiar with the project, I think, but I'll turn it over to Mark.
Oh, no, I did. Actually, I'm going to let Lynn talk because I think we're here to report to the committee what we did since we presented last time.
Since what?
So last time, I think they left it, you guys left it with them going back to talk to the vet, Noel Daniels?
No.
Noel
And
Daniels.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were a couple other remarks from committee. I can't remember exactly what those were.
We also talked about the building placement along Reese, I think, and if there was any considerations of
Yeah, do you have that?
just the siding of that. But I mean, that's only I don't think that was a
Okay.
Maybe pull up the site plan.
yeah.
Mark, tell me if I'm correct, what we did is we pulled that top building, where's the pointer? Oh, I'm Lynn Shannon. Shannon Walsh, okay. Thank you for, so we redid this, we had some parking going in here, we eliminated that at y'all's request, we pulled the building back. Y'all were concerned about two-way access. I did meet with the vet, it was very hard. I dropped letters off and knocked on the door. He was very gracious to find that with me. He just wanted to make sure he could still use his access 2 ways in and out. So Mark is designed, I believe, 2-way into here so he can still exit like he has been for 40 or so years. And it's 1 way from here down. So if you come here, you cannot exit back out. So we limit the amount of traffic back on Central y'all want.
So that will keep the parking spaces, the spaces that are in front of the vet on the road, on Central.
Yes.
That will maintain those.
That's what
Okay.
we propose. We're proposing for it to.
Not the way that's drawn.
It doesn't look like that in the
No, it's not.
drawing.
So I thought I'd sent you a updated slide for this, but in case they didn't, I brought one today, so I'll
Okay.
show you.
Okay.
Be banner.
Be banner. So based on the feedback we were getting, we eliminated the driveway, see, going to Central that was proposed to access Central from the vet's parking lot with our.
I was just wondering if you could flip it around so it's oriented the same way.
Yeah, we can do that. So we went ahead and eliminated the driveway in the back, that's shown at the top and the left of the screen there, and we reinstituted the driveway into the vets and allow the vet to access like he's doing, okay? We're gonna allow from the vet's driveway to Central, it'll stay a 2-way where the vet can come in and out and access Central the way that he accesses today. what we're going to propose is that 820th Court here turns into a one-way, one direction from there, and we've narrowed the laneage there so that it becomes a 1A. We'll provide the proper signage in these areas here so it becomes a one-way. And what we ended up with over there was 18 parking spaces that we can accommodate along the dentist's office and on additional, and in total 14 along the dentist's office and then 4 on the vet side of the road as far as on-street parking that we can accommodate. As far as shifting this building, I didn't make that shift yet, but I mean, that's a site plan issue that, you know, I need to talk to him and move forward as we get into, you know, the site plan approval. We narrowed the driveway here so it is distinctly a one-way driveway. We'll put the proper signage out here.
Why are you shifting the building? I don't remember that.
That was.
Well, I brought it up
last.
last meeting because also I think in that discussion previously, and I don't mean to misquote you, Councilor Gwaltney, but you'd referenced something like if the building was closer to
the
Reese,
road, yeah.
to the road, that there could potentially be some other,
Parking behind it.
you know.
Correct, yeah, I was referencing, I thought, the south end of whatever this larger rectangular building is, that there was the potential for parking on that end. I think that's where I was referring to.
Okay.
And we can show the building there and look at that when we get further into the development. And once we understand whether we're going to be allowed to do the improvements that we're showing here, here, and here, is what we need, some sort of guidance from the city on.
So is that 6, and that, I know that's not the right drawing, so hold on, let me go down here. Is it 5 or 4 spaces, the parallel spaces along, on the other side?
4.
Yeah, 4, okay, 4. So there were 6 up there, but that's when it was doing the driveway out the
When
front.
we lost the driveway,
Right.
when we added the driveway back, we lost those 2.
Gotcha.
And I'll
Okay.
say this, we net out more. Take a look at that driveway up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, moving that driveway up to Central killed
Losing.
5 Publix parcels that were already out there. So we're still in a better situation. It's a smarter move to move the driveway back to where it is and keep it there than it is to move to Central.
Yeah, can we? That'd be great.
All right. That's cool.
Technology.
Jet trip voting.
Award winning, that's right.
Question. Well, he probably gets that up there. Okay, so you mentioned something about two-way access here to go. I guess I'm confused because we still talked about one-way access onto Central, correct? Didn't we talk?
This is just, it's for the people leaving the vet's office, because
I see what you're
they're,
saying.
say the exit from their parking lot comes out
There it
onto,
is.
right, yes.
You guys
So
don't have
you
to
can
hold
see it in the
it.
picture of
There you
these
go.
also, so that, yeah, that their traffic
right
comes out of the
here.
parking lot. So the other alternative was to cut out that
This
and
area right
lose
here.
those spaces, to take it
Yeah.
directly onto Central, but that really just wasn't realistically, so they changed it. So there has to be some allowance.
This is how
It exists now.
that has operated already.
All the time, yes.
Okay.
Like it is currently, they come out and go onto Central from that side.
Gotcha.
That's how their parking lot is.
Okay, and then I guess I had a question about what that bump out is for. These are handicap right here, so I thought maybe it's handicap, but it's not designated that way, so.
Actually, it's access into the dentist office. It's in front, there's some things there from.
We have a staircase there, so that's
Okay.
how you get down to.
So that's maybe what that dark area is or something? Yeah. Okay. And then the bump out, I guess, is just to delineate the
To make sure
the
it's
parking there so they
one
don't
way.
get too tight.
That's
Mr. Gonzalez, what's the width,
you, Berkeley.
from the bulb out, across the crosswalk to the Null Daniels property side? What is the width there for that two-way traffic? I just was trying to, it looks tight. I was just wondering what it actually is.
It meets your subdivision reg. It's like 27 feet back of curb to back of curb.
Okay. But it's not a one-way there then?
No.
No.
It's two-way.
And it's, that's how it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the bulb out there right there now? That's what it's trying to.
I mean, it's the curve is there.
Southeast
You're talking about right there?
Southeast corner.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I'm talking about, sorry, near Central at that crosswalk that goes across
This one,
what's
that
20.
bulb
Yes,
out.
that right there.
Yeah, that largely
That's
exists.
the current thing. Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Somebody.
Yes,
did.
you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for that.
I'll tell you something you can
It
look
just
at. Look across the street.
Looks bigger.
Across the street there. Look at the width of the driveway across the street. It matches up.
Thanks.
Where the fire trucks would come
It was just hard to tell if it was
out. Understood.
less wide than it is now, if something was being added, so I think.
Anybody else have questions right now? Anybody from the crowd? Any questions?
The parking in the right of way, is that counted towards your required parking in the building?
You're saying all of this?
For the building?
Some of it is, yes. Not all of it is needed for the square footage we have, but some of it is, yes.
How much is it?
I think about 14 of those spaces.
14 of those spaces are required for the building that you have.
I believe so. I need to check that number.
Based on the square footage?
Yes.
There's gonna be a variance to count those. Or is this gonna?
Mike, do you know?
That's
Do we have to get a variance to count off-street parking within 150 feet of the?
Well, if it's off of your property, yes.
Spaces in the right of way, yes.
We do, so we have to get a variance to count, okay,
Not from council, from BCA's.
to count the public
Board of
spaces in the
Zoning.
right of way towards our zoning. Yes, we have. to
That's a zoning variance, so it has to go to BCA.
Okay.
And if you didn't have this one-way drive, you would be able to put those 14 spaces on your own property?
No.
Across where that intersection currently is, you could.
What are you saying right here?
Yes.
No, we would not be able to have 14 spaces in there.
Why? It's a new building.
It's not long enough.
How many could you put
Look
there?
at the distance, look at the distance that we have from here to there. That distance versus that distance.
But you can take that out.
No, you can't. That's
No,
where
no,
they're-
I'm saying this length is not including all that section. If you're gonna transfer it over here.
Yeah, I mean, if you put them, you have that group of 10, and if you just continue those angled all the way down to the bottom, you'll be able to fit 14 more spaces in there.
Well, I think Counselor
Based on
Gwaltney,
the-
Brian, can you zoom out just a little bit? I think that's part of why Counselor Gwaltney had asked about shifting the building structure up, is that it makes it more walkable to the sidewalk that's going in here, plus it potentially frees up space down off of the image here to potentially put some additional spaces also.
I don't think so. Yeah, I can just look at that and tell you if I had 10 spaces are right there at the top, right here. There's 10 spaces there. You can envision that, there's probably about 8 spaces you could get along that straight area if you took out the drive and just parked it straight across.
And then if this was shifted, would you have space to put another 6,
To park.
either here or here?
Or a little smaller.
Topographically, we'll never get anything shoved in down here because of the difference in grade change, and that'll never happen. Because you won't, it just topographically is sitting there like that. That area up there, we shift building area forward, there's probably additional parking spaces that we could get, but that would just decrease what we were looking for off of public right of way.
We've been working, if I'm wrong, I've been working on this for about 4.5 years. And the reason we have a gap between the two buildings, isn't there a storm sewer or sanitary sewer, even if it's not gonna go away?
There's a sanitary sewer.
So that's why there's 2, otherwise we.
Sure.
So.
I think there was just discussion last time about shifting this building A, forward more towards Reese, and then potentially freeing up some of this space where it currently sits. What's that?
It's a great idea.
That's why your green space, which is what this.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I thought we talked about adding green space, which is.
That was me.
Depends on who you ask, I guess.
Okay.
Gwaltney suggested
Brought
this,
it up,
Jennifer
man,
suggested
You
that.
brought it up, I'm just saying, it's gotta be one or the other.
I'm saying there have been
Big
2
man.
suggestions, neither of which were mine.
St. Christmas morning, you went in the ground bag.
They can arm wrestle over which one wins.
You probably don't, they didn't, Andy already stated it. Let's make it legal and go. I mean, I'd rather have green space with personal.
I guess just because of the stormwater runoff questions we've had tonight, how does this fit into that, Kale? And
So they're far from the landscape and tree ordinance on this, with this plan. They're gonna be required to do a lot of things or ask for a lot of variances if they were to present this. But as far as stormwater runoff, I don't know. I have seen what Mark is proposing with an underground system, I think, up in the 10 diagonal spaces. Did you show something there? Yeah. And so I trust that they can get there with it, for sure.
We're gonna take it all underground.
but the permeability of the lot, I guess, is what that all looks like hardscape except for potentially that.
The whole thing is hardscape. Like, I would consider that like 90% or 95% impervious. But,
And that's allowed based on the zoning?
No, he was saying they gotta get variances.
yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with zoning.
Gotcha. Okay.
What, the 50% stuff that we were talking about earlier. is
Sure,
in-
residential. What's that?
NPD.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still gotta control the water.
Right, that's right. They'll have to mitigate their stormwater runoff.
Sure.
Yeah, which we plan to.
Yeah.
Do you have your stormwater plan with you?
No.
Do you have all of that water draining into my backyard?
All the water drains into your backyard, yes, and it currently drains into your backyard.
Well, it's all permeable right now.
It's not all permeable. It's part of it's a gravel parking lot, which decreases the imperviability built in that portion. It's been gravel driven on by cars forever. It changes it significantly. But in the calculations that we'll do, we'll take into consideration the fact that it's part pervious, part gravel parking lot, and we'll determine the runoff rates that come off of the parking lot, and we'll reduce these back in accordance with the city's stormwater regulations and discharge. It's looking at multiple year storms and water quality and all the rest of the things that we have to look at.
So, Mr. Smith, Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Yes, please.
Mr. Smith, can you clarify, you mentioned that there's going to be a significant amount of variances required, or at least a number of variances required related to the tree landscape ordinance to come into compliance. What other variances are we looking at this property potentially having to meet what's on the screen?
I don't know where they are on parking, but it sounds like you're close.
Sounds like they
As long as
needed
we're able to count the
14
off-street parking.
spots.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, we haven't done a thorough zoning review of this proposed site. We haven't had anything submitted to us except just.
I think our first step in development is to figure out, can
you do it, right?
Can we do this?
That's right.
Once we figure out this tonight, we use the public right of way to put it with the driveway, it's a parking, then we can, sharpen our pencil and make sure this is all
Then we can come back.
either the code, or if it's not, we'll apply for variance, and if you say no, we just have to live with it, make it work. But right now, we just are, tonight, I know we're talking about all this other stuff tonight, we're just saying, hey, can we improve this public right of way? It's been public right of way probably since the planning of downtown Homewood.
Yeah, so like we're looking at is 28 court, whatever we're doing up there in Reese, and all this along alley is critical to what we're doing.
And so just a few points of clarification, sorry. So improvements of the public right-of-way, and then those will remain public parking spots, but y'all will improve them. And then easement for continued traffic to go through that one-way through your property, even if they're leaving the dentist's office, the doctor's office, etc. And then finally, the one thing we also talked about, if it would be a possibility to proffer, is that for consideration is that this parking would not be like posted and restricted, that it was for those businesses only. So that, say for example, if those businesses were closed, that people by adjacent businesses could park there in the evening time and so forth. And I think that was when we had a consideration that this may be office, but it says retail, right? So would these businesses potentially be open at night as well?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we'll have restaurants over there.
Yeah, that's true. You say night, I was thinking late night, yeah.
sorry, I couldn't hear. What?
Yeah, we hope to have at least one restaurant.
Okay.
So one part of one of those spaces at least would be, potentially be open in the evening time.
Okay. You referring to the 10 and the 4, the 14?
What's that?
Are you referring to the, were you referring to the 10 and the 4? That are,
I don't think.
which spots were you referring to?
For,
think some of these
for
are-
the property they own, I was referring to, at one
Okay.
point we talked about them proffering that they wouldn't be like stamped like
I got you.
so-and-so development
Yeah.
only, and then those parking spots would like sit empty outside of normal
I'm with
business
you.
hours.
You're referencing these other
Yes,
parking
I am.
spots. Okay.
That would kind of be like, it would just help with our downtown parking
I
problem
thought you
overall.
meant the posting on the 14 in the right of way. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't
Well, you
walk
could
down
do
the
that
streets.
regardless,
Just
yeah.
Sell cars and park there. You know, we're gonna try to protect the parking that we have fee simple title to, and we don't intend to restrict any of the stuff that's in the public right of way.
Okay.
Now, enforcing
Yes,
it, we got a lot of shops,
no one can use the
enforcing
parking
it,
in this lot.
unless you have a guard or gate, it's really, you know, it's almost impossible. So practically speaking, we've already talked to the Bell Center, talked to that executive director about what we're doing. She's excited, they have some things early in the morning that we said, you know, I just don't anticipate there to be heavy traffic in the morning, so we're already aware this is.
How can you
But-
anticipate if you don't know what kind of businesses are coming in?
No, you don't really get your tenants until the shell's up sometimes. I mean, we haven't pre-leased any of this other than Homewood is a very dynamic
Could it
market.
open at 8 o'clock though? I mean,
The restaurant very likely could probably be open until 9.
yeah, but I mean, the other.
But we don't have any restaurants, but we hope to have.
Is it all retail or, and no office or, you don't know?
you know,
You really don't know? It's just a building
No,
open
no,
for
we'd like to
rent?
build a commercial retail strip that looks like a retail center, just like downtown Homewood. You got some office tenants downtown, you got some retail.
So
our idea is to
single-
look like a historic,
Yeah,
like this
single-
retail was here 50 years ago.
Basically, what you're gonna see in here are the uses that are allowed under the zoning. So anything in that use is what it has the opportunity to be. We accommodated retail development, which is pretty high. It's one of your higher criteria for parking ratios in there. And we've also accommodated for the restaurant to have like a 10 or 12, whatever the code says on that. I can't quite remember if I have it in front of me. It is- So we've already taken into consideration, you know, what Lynn had envisioned on potential users and applied what we think is reasonable numbers out of the zoning code for those uses. How we see the commercial zoning that this is.
Yeah. And before we do that plan, we really need to know, can we have access to this right away? Can we use the parking? And so Lewis Niquette's doing architecture. It's going to be something really nice. We just haven't gone too far down the road until we know what we're dealing with. And I think the first domino to fall is can we activate this dormant right away?
President Wyatt, since there's a public hearing pending on the consideration of the vacation of the right-of-way that also involves this property, are we, order of procedure, are we fine to act on this, or should those operate concurrently and hold for a public hearing?
There's no requirement for it to happen either way. It can happen in whatever order we want it to. I mean, in other words, the two things are operating independently of each other. I know they involve a similar piece of property, but there's no requirement that they be handled together or in any certain order.
Like I know
Whatever
for-
the committee would like to do
Okay.
at this point.
Because I know, for example, like in special issues, we held over till next week the presentation of Dr. Meniscalco, so
Right.
I didn't know if those, if it would be appropriate to carry this over to have it concurrently on that
That's up to the
trajectory.
committee. It's up to the committee chairs to what y'all want to do. But you're not required to do it any way. You can do it whatever way you want.
Okay.
If you want to wait and hear that at the next committee meeting and carry this over until you hear that, you're welcome to do that. If you want to go ahead and send it out, you're welcome to send it out. I just don't know where y'all are with it, but I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question? So, what is that part of the drawing here? Just this bump.
That's a garage.
I think it's gonna be an outdoor dining element, that's where we'd like to put the restaurant.
Okay. And then these are,
Dumpsters.
okay. And then this line delineates what?
That is the alley.
That's the property owner.
So is this also city right away then?
Yes.
Outside of that?
Yes.
So I know we're just talking about this, but we basically have to come back
you're talking about
about that as well.
You're talking about every frontage. we
Okay,
have
that's
on
why it's worded the way it
public
is.
right-of-way.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, boy. Anybody have an inkling one way or the other?
I just want to say one thing. So you're planning on running a pipe for all the water in this area that will exit in my backyard?
The pipe right now goes underneath the drive that's there today.
It's like woods back there.
Mark, explain your detention ideas for the site to make sure that you don't increase.
Borrow your-
Yeah, absolutely.
All this drainage comes from a box culvert that drains way up here, down through here, comes through here, dumps right about here. And then there's a small pipe that goes underneath this thing that's here, this fill that's in here, and dumps in and goes behind the doctor's office right in this location. And eventually it's picked up in a box culvert that goes underneath this building that's right here. It actually goes underneath the building. Something we used to do 100 years.
Yes, the twin office building, yeah.
100 years ago, we used to do that. We don't do it anymore. But that's what it is, and that's where it goes. So go there. My goal is to take this pipe, pick it up, which drops right about here, drop it here, put it back into the open ditch that is right there across the vets thing. Pick it right back up here again, and then pick it and to pipe it here. So it stays an open ditch in this area here. We have no clearing that we're doing in this zone here. We have no clearing that we're doing in this zone here, and we'll let the water go back in the exact same ditch that it goes. We will come in here and we will load this area up with stormwater retention ponds. That yellow stuff that you saw earlier in the image,
It goes underneath the ground.
that goes underneath the ground, it will be here, and that's what we'll do. So the pipe ends right about there. We're gonna pipe it to right about there. We're gonna pipe it again right there, but there's already a pipe in that location right there today. So there's a lot to do in stormwater. There's no question about it. But you do have a good stormwater ordinance. You got things to do. There's no question about that. But you know, the plan will have to comply with stormwater ordinance, and frankly, we'll probably do more than what we have to do, just because it's prudent.
Back to the parking real quick. Do we know how many you're gonna have to have in that section of road, the access way that you're asking for, and how many would be available for the dentist office?
You said 14 would be.
But how many would be left?
Well,
That's what I'm
there's 18 currently drawn right there, so that would leave 4.
And they're public spaces.
But those are public spaces.
None of
They
those
can't-
spaces would be
So they
designated.
can't
for
reserve
their
a
public
burden on their
spaces.
property by 18.
Yeah, they're not their
Us
spaces
allowing
just
it to count
because
as-
they put them in. That's still in the public right of way.
I will say this. I think it was brought up just at the very last meeting, but I think there would. I think there was a desire for some sort of parking agreement so that this wasn't quite, as I understand, it's currently your property, but I think that.
Yep. So, the spaces on the right of way, those 18 spaces?
Yeah, I'm not talking about those. No. I'm talking
making
about,
sure we're not-
there were a couple comments the last couple times we've talked about this, about, parking is an issue all over the city. There would certainly be a palette from the city standpoint to have some sort of reciprocal or agreed upon parking arrangement so that
I
it's
just
not
wanna make sure
restricted.
They can't give away
No,
public
I
spaces.
fully
They can
understand
give away
that.
some of their private spaces
That's,
to the dentist.
and
but
I
they
wasn't
can't-
saying giving away, but just allowing access to,
Sure.
particularly at times where there's not peak usage, and it sounded like, at least initially, the development was most likely not going to compete as much in terms of hours and overlap with some of the other things that are around the vet, the dentist, but I don't know if that's changed or not, so.
think what we were looking to do is very similar to what y'all did across the street for Caliber. I was understanding from them, they improved, created new parking spaces in the right of way, they got it counted. It's, anybody can park there, Dr. Manscott got to park across the street, anybody can, I can. So that's, we just were trying to mirror the deal that was done a few years ago with that. It seemed like a good plan for the city, worked for the developer, and so we were just trying to.
But there's zero appetite for allowing any kind of usage even along a certain, just
That would be for our
this
tenants.
strip or that.
Yeah, we can't do that for our tenants.
I mean, who's gonna, my question to that, Andrew, who, unless they got security or somebody out there, who's gonna know where you're parking to go? I mean, you see that all over Homewood. I mean, not being ugly, but unless you got somebody out there patrolling that, they don't know if they're going to their restaurant or going to his dentist office.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, in that part, I mean, his people are gonna benefit from their parking lot, whether they want them to or not. I mean, that's, unless you got security that's actually out there with them dictating who can go in there, who can and who can't.
Sure.
Yeah, but
I think it meets the purpose of, I think he's gonna benefit from parking, because some of his people aren't gonna, they pull over there, they're gonna pull right in there. I mean, is Mark gonna come out and tell them they can? I don't think so. I mean, I think it.
Well, it sounds like there's an intention to put up designated parking signs that says reserved for our tenants.
And
So,
again, I will say this, who's gonna gauge that?
Yeah, but
I'm not being ugly,
a
but
lot
I
of
mean-
people pay attention to that.
Who would do what now?
A lot of people pay attention to that.
I just know the parking situation is sensitive in my part of the neighborhood right now because of some stuff that's gone on the last several months. But I just want to know that we're thinking about everything long term and
Sure.
the implications there. So
Improve this road that's on the map. And that's, whatever decision we make on that, one way or the other, they'll have to live with, we'll have to live with, everyone else will have to live with, and whatever the consequences of that are. But,
nailed it.
lost my train of thought.
Why?
So, but that's the difficulty behind it. And I also understand Dr. Maniscalco's point of view, that if we allow this work in the right of way, we can't vacate it. And if we vacate it, we can't allow the work in the right of way, each of which will have their own consequences as well. So, but I do think it's important to keep in mind that there is, what we are dealing with in this issue is public right of way. So, and we have to base it, whatever decision we make has to be based from that standpoint, that is public right of way, because that means something. Now, if we feel like that public right of way is surplus and can be vacated, then that's something we can do. But understand that also prevents a development with a road that is on a map.
I would just add, I mean, this may not be the will of the entire committee as a whole, but, I'm grateful for the presentation this evening, the new plans. I'd love to have a copy of the new plan so we can look at it closely. My preference would be to carry this over. We've been concurrently considering these together all along, out of respect to.
Truthfully, one was proposed probably two months beforehand.
Yes, that's true actually, but basically just to allow the time to present on the vacation, to consider these somewhat, even though they're separate, together, and so therefore carried over one more time, so that everyone can present and we can all get on the same page of what we're going to do with this.
And I don't have any problem with that. Carrying it over is fine. I want to be clear. I want us to be clear as we move forward that we have to consider each issue individually, even though they affect each other.
Correct.
So what that means is if we are determining that that we're not going to allow work in the right of way, that's because we don't think that there should be work in the right of way, not because we think there should be parking spaces, because we think there's some public parking spaces that should go to someone else, or, and vice versa.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean, because.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't hear about them at the same time, but the decision has to be made based on each individual item. I think the law
Because
requires
as-
us to do that.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right.
Can I ask a question? Is it possible to get approval here and before the final city council meeting with Dr. Maniscalco goes hearing, our hearing, you and I can get together and work on an agreement for that hearing?
Yes, you can
That's what I would, I'd like to go, this is,
I
not
thought
that
that's
I
what
like
we've
coming,
been
this is
doing
my
for the last 2
meeting.
months.
Yeah, no, it is,
And if
it
we
is
don't do it-
possible at any point for y'all to come to an agreement. That, and if the committee's gonna carry this over, nothing's going to council yet anyway, and at any point, y'all can come to an agreement that hopefully is mutually beneficial. And I would tell you that that would probably be viewed favorably, depending on the details of the agreement, because I think it would certainly, I think everyone on council would be happy if, and I'm not saying you can, but if you can come to an agreement on stuff.
That'd be great.
I think
thought we were working towards that.
Council would be very happy to hear
The
that.
key is, but don't be agreeing to public right of way.
Yeah, but it cannot involve those, whatever, I've already got 18 spaces. It can't involve those 18 spaces, because only the city can give those.
Can I ask you, what, why do you need to work in the public right of way in that area?
I think it's the whole, the road is, even if y'all said no parking, we still like that road and property. We sort of got, or at least cut off. I agree, it's a public safety issue with Reese Street, had to be one way, but have a retail site with one way, you have to circle it. It's all about access. And
But
so,
would you still have to do that with this, cause it's one way as well?
at least we have 2 one-ways. So the idea would be, even if y'all said no parking, we would still ask to be able to improve the right of way with the drive and improve the alley to be able to park in the back, to add more parking. And that alley's not there now. I mean, it's platted, is it active alley?
It's there.
It's
you can
active,
drive it.
it's
Okay.
active.
It's there.
Okay.
It's about 12 feet wide today.
My guess is you're gonna make it better if this is approved, but it's,
Well, it doesn't go through.
yeah,
So-
but it is there.
So we want to, we want to do work on the right of way regardless of the parking, whether,
But why do you need to work on the right of way?
They just want access
yeah,
to
that whole,
Central.
that whole access point would
Want
be.
to be able to drive straight into the development.
Well, they also have
Central.
to be able to access here in the back. This is city
For that.
right away back here too.
Yeah. But is it work in the right of way, does have to be granted all or nothing?
In theory, we could we could approve work in the right of way along one spot, but not others potentially, but obviously I think the item is asking for it in multiple areas, but kind of the will.
I'm just, it's, you have 4 different entrances, this will be a 5th.
Yeah, but you only got 2 primary entrances, one off Central and one off Reese. The others are secondary. They service providing interconnectivity more than anything else, rather than attracting the public off of the main roads.
Part of the issue is that this is a road on a map already.
It's a dedicated right.
It's a dedicated right of way for a road like this. That's part of the issue.
What's interesting, we get part of that right of way if it gets vacated too, because we abut.
That's correct.
Well, why is that an issue if we, I mean,
Well, everybody that touches that road has a public interest in the use of that road by any subdivision.
Legally.
It's
Just like all
illegal,
the alleys
it's a
are
legal
illegal.
property owner's right.
Legally, if you're a property owner that touches that,
You can't cut off one.
where that
property.
road is drawn,
so
then
you're
you have
saying
a
that we
certain
can't
right.
do what
Well, you
Maniscalco
could,
is
but-
asking us to do?
Well, that's part of the issue.
Part of that, which would be
I
fine.
think he's been told that.
That's part of the issue.
So Noel Daniels would
From a legal
would
standpoint.
legally have some rights to some of that as well.
Everybody that touches that.
Everybody that
Everybody that touches
has
the
a
road,
reasonable legal.
just like any other road.
Sure.
Just because it's not there, it's
Would
still
they
a
have to purchase?
dedicated road.
Would they have to purchase it as well?
Well, Dr. Daniels has signed to vacate his portion to us.
That's good. That doesn't cover anybody.
That's interesting, because where's Dr. Daniels' legal access to Central at that point then? too.
So we have an agreement that nothing will change. I
So
mean,
our
our whole
whole
Don't
plan.
need agreeing on the public right of way.
Well, I'd
nothing
like
will
to see
change.
Dr. Daniels, I'd like to see a letter
just
from
go for
Dr.
it.
Daniels
Yeah, I mean,
to you guys about whatever you've
I will
talked
say, we
about.
have spent, this is our fourth meeting, and I've went by several times, I left letters, I called, it has been, and he's a busy man, he's very gracious to make that time, but to put a contingency on me to have to go talk to a private citizen and get, that's just,
Well, I
that's
guess I
tough.
just.
Y'all
I
are
mean,
welcome to call him, I met with him, and he
Okay.
didn't really have a.
Well,
I
I
got
mean,
his
if
cell
we're
number.
talking about agreements between property owners, I mean,
Yeah, I had no agreement with him, I just wanted to present the plan, he wanted to make sure the way he's been operating is not gonna change with this plan, and the way we proposed it is not, so that's all he was concerned about.
So again, I just, since there's some just further evaluation of this project overall, I'd like to carry it over, give it 2 more weeks and get squared away.
Do you have a
Is that a
site plan
motion?
that's been submitted to you by the doctor?
There's no plan.
There is no plan.
There is no plan. We want to maintain it exactly the way it is.
Oh, you just want to keep it dirt?
Well,
So
but now
you're
we'll
asking
say,
for-
that's not
It's not
gonna,
done right now.
but it's not gonna happen, because as Cale said when we did the things, if we vacate that property, we cannot leave it like it is, because it is the parking that is currently there is not allowed
It's
through
not-
it doesn't meet our,
But we
so
discussed
we'll have
that.
to change that, yeah. I
We
mean,
have
that's
to
so,
repaint the lines or whatever, but yeah.
well, no, but it would eliminate,
It would eliminate some of the
Some
parking
of the
spaces.
spaces.
You would, less cars could park there than what are currently parking there. But you're right.
yeah.
We talked about this, right? There would be a certain number of parking spaces that would be capable of being put on that property based on the ordinance. Whatever that is, it is. Sure.
I think
But
it's 4.
it's less than what is currently marked.
Yeah.
There now.
I think the last thing, because we have to make one of the spaces handicap accessible, I believe on the last drawing, it was 4. Because we were trying to bump it up
It
to
was.
5, but it's 4. It's just 4 on the side of the building.
4 plus 1 handicap.
No, 4 total.
So 3 plus 1, so.
3 plus a
But I mean,
handicap.
How many spaces are there?
So Mr. Gonzalez, to your point, I mean, he didn't present tonight in special issues, so I guess we haven't seen his plan. But again, we're not considering those concurrently, so the timeframes are similar, but we're not looking at those. But if y'all, again, if we carry it over, then in this 2 weeks, any additional discussions can occur between adjacent property owners. But then, I think that with, the idea is that when we come back to committee on October 3rd, that we would be prepared to take action on the item. But I just don't feel like, at this time, that they're ready to do so with the new information and just it being the magnitude of the project and this potentially being the one time council gets to, act upon it.
Now, if at the next one, will we have the opportunity to say if the council wants to grant the permission to work in the right of way, can we then send that to a public hearing?
I don't think
No.
it requires a public
No.
hearing.
It's just-
It's
just-
if there's
Yeah.
citizens that would like to see a public hearing for this, is that
No,
something that could be
I think that,
requested?
I don't think that this would not be the kind of item that we would usually have a public hearing on, particularly given the fact that we have discussed it at length in committee, and anyone's welcome and are going to continue to. Now, anyone's welcome to show up here and.
This is
and
a
have-
public hearing, is it not?
That's
No,
right.
there is a,
Not
there is
officially, no.
I
a
got you.
public
Okay.
hearing that's different. So I would say anyone who certainly is interested in this item, they're more than welcome to show up for the committee meetings and have discussion that
But
way.
even if-
But I don't want to handle this item differently from the way we would handle other similar items. I don't think that's I think we need to be equitable.
If citizens ask for a certain issue to go to public hearing, you guys can just say no.
Yes, we can just say
Yeah.
that. Correct.
If it's not required by law, which this is not. All right, so it sounds like there's enough questions that we want to go ahead and carry this over for now, and then revisit next time as everything's able to be presented together. I know you guys proffered or discussed in the meantime working on potential resolution between property owners here, and that would be great. I think everybody
And,
would
as
appreciate
long as
that if that
property owners are
can.
willing to meet, are you willing to meet?
Yes, but as we discussed before, and I think the whole holdout is that you guys can't guarantee that we would have parking because they are public parking spots. So I think that's the issue.
I don't think
The
anybody
city can guarantee you that either.
Correct, that's true.
Unless
But
it's
They're
vacated.
not, they're not our spaces.
Right, so, exactly. So that's why you can't give away something that's not yours, and that's kind of the.
But if
the
they
right of
were
way's
to-
not yours either, you're not giving anything away.
Well, that's why he's
I'm not-
requesting it. He's requesting
Yeah,
that the city vacate it, that's why.
Okay.
I think his request is what it is.
Yeah.
So
that's-
I don't know if you were, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's between
because-
you guys, but
yeah.
if they were to proffer these 5 stalls on the end of their property closest to yours, adjacent to yours, if needed, kind of thing, I don't know. That's something that you guys can sort out. I don't
I think
know
the
how
deal
to-
is, if y'all wanna talk, y'all talk. We,
Yeah.
you know, we can't tell.
Well,
you
I'm
what
just
to talk
saying, they
about.
said they would talk about it, they can talk about
I'm
it.
happy to,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy for y'all to
Yeah.
talk, but that's up to y'all. And what you talk about, so.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and carry that over.
So when do we meet next?
October 3rd.
2 more weeks.
Thank you.
107-22, request for permission to work in the right of way at 29.
Did y'all have a motion on that carryover?
Yes.
Second, voted?
You don't have to second.
All right, good, excellent.
Right of way on 29th Avenue South in front of PNC Bank. I think this has been carried over a couple times.
Yeah, and I'm gonna present, are you from PNC? So he's from GBD. He's from GBD, and I have handouts. You wanna pass these out to the committee? Who's on the committee?
Hey, Cal, do you have one for the record?
I do.
And can you send me that PowerPoint that you gave today so I can take it for the record? Because if you show it, I can get it with over the request.
I can. You want this?
Well, I'll just have to forward it to you anyway.
Brian, can you show a street view of that, of the bank, like Google Street View or something? Is that possible?
Pull it up, sure. What is it?
1908, 29th Avenue South. So this is PNC Bank, which is just across this, right around the corner, across the street from a Loft Hotel. And they're proposing, Brian's pulling it up, but they're, what was the address again? 1908, 29th Avenue South. They're proposing to eliminate one of the currently there are 3 parking spaces right here. They're proposing to eliminate one of these parking spaces and add an accessible space and an accessible ramp to accommodate ADA parking for the bank. That's true. Accessible parking for the public.
Okay.
Go for it, yep.
When we put the parking in, when we angled all that parking all the way up to Real Rosemary, there is a spot in front of Real Rosemary that is ADA compliant. I know we talked about, is there one also in front of A Loft that's ADA compliant? Just
I don't know
just
the
gathering
answer.
information.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, we added one at Real Rosemary with a ramp. And then we talked about, I feel like there's one on in front of A Loft. I'm just asking for informational purposes.
I don't see one in there.
We did do,
Is there one there? In there somewhere?
no, we built a ramp, remember Berkeley? Remember it was for music practices?
Big bad breakfast, right?
Oh, yeah, that's,
I think it's further up the road.
okay.
Like closer to 31?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 2022 it says.
Berkeley, didn't we add that? I know it was on the agenda forever. It was, Sue Graffis is the one who requested it. Up in the next block by her sandwich shop or down?
No. Big
This
Bad
was long-
Breakfast.
This was a while ago.
What is it now?
Remember the handicap spot that we added for, Sue Graffis, or something, Jennifer?
That Big Bad Breakfast,
Yeah.
Little Rosemary somewhere.
Yeah.
I know we put the ramp in, I know we got, where is it? Is it not showing up?
No, I don't know.
I didn't think we.
I'm not sure what y'all.
I know we
That was on the
did.
agenda, I just don't remember.
No, I know we built it, I know we did.
Hell, I don't know, I have to get like by there and look.
Me too.
I remember us doing it, but,
Yeah.
all right, well, anyway, you people are here for their.
I know, I was asking to get an inventory of the ADA compliant, that's why I was asking. For that and the A-loft, I think there was one in front of the A-loft.
All right. Will you go back down to PNC, Brian? Yeah, right? Perfect. So that's PNC here. And there are currently 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and they're proposing to redo all this, come out into the travel lane, and then add back concrete in here, and basically redo all of the sidewalk in front of the bank and add concrete so they can get their slopes for accessible parking, and add an accessible ramp. So they would go from 3 pedestrian vehicles to 1 ADA van space and a pedestrian vehicle space.
Is there do they have parking on their property around back, or? I don't know.
Yes, they do.
Is anything accessible there?
Yeah, you have accessible, one accessible space in the back.
So I guess I'm just curious how this came about.
Probably
just in
worried
terms
about
of
getting sued across the country, and they're probably doing this everywhere. but
I mean, is there
Yeah,
a
this came about,
required
I
number?
mean, there's a desire to move the accessible space closer to the front door and the main entrance, rather than coming from all the way from the rear of the building.
Sure.
Around the building to the front and accessing the bank.
Can you go to
This
the
puts us
aerial view?
basically right in the front door. It improves the
I know
sidewalk
I'm
in
asking a
front
lot.
to
She did one tomorrow.
ADA accessible. And so the benefit to PNC is having that close proximity to their front door. The benefit to the city would be that they are improving this to ADA accessible area, the sidewalk and the parking. I know there's been a big push across the US to implement ADA standards for the right-of-way, PROAG, pedestrian right-of-way accessibility guidelines. So the benefit to the city is y'all will have already accomplished that in this area prior to any regulations being put into place and having to be implemented.
There's a back door to the bank, right?
So what?
There's a back door to the
There
bank,
is.
right?
Here's the space, the existing space.
Yep.
So what's the downside from the city's perspective? We lose
You're
all
losing
parking?
a parking space, which wasn't all that just restriped and redrawn like
Yeah,
in the last couple of years?
yeah,
To add as many as we could.
angled.
Yeah.
That one came from Real Rosemary, at the request of Real Rosemary. There's parking outlines, there's hard.
So the one spot that's there that's in the back.
Brian, can you hit this and see if you can spin it around?
Yeah.
So we are, it is currently compliant, right? I mean, is there any way to do it without losing a space? Like, I hate to lose.
No, there's no way to do it without losing.
That's
Because you have to
right there in
leave, you have to
front.
essentially leave a space next to it in order to.
There it goes.
I don't ever use the water now.
Let me try. Hang on, just give me a second here.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, let's see. I guess without seeing further west, I guess in this image where the blue vehicle is.
Oh, there it is, but
There it is. Yeah.
the map's not.
It's not got the current.
Right.
That's
the
the
old
current
layout.
configuration.
That's the old layout.
Yeah. They only come by every 3 years.
Well, that's my bank, and I will say, I don't, that building is not a large building, and that parking space in the back, that's the ADA compliant space, is right next to the door, and it's not a big building. I just hate giving up a parking space on 29th that we worked so hard to add striping to just a couple of years ago. We just did that project.
There weren't one in the back. And
Right.
Quite frankly, they could add more in the back if they wanted to. They're parking spaces.
I mean, we just did that project.
I'm not completely sure why the one in the front is so much better than the one in the back.
And it's not a big building. I mean, that's my bank.
It's not.
So,
Did you say there's a different access to the lobby or the bank on the?
I don't know, interior, the configuration, interior configuration.
So, yeah, Brian, can you go, is there not? Oh, no, that's.
So.
I mean, you come in the
I
back,
would have to.
there's a bathroom, and there's another little doorway, and there's just a hallway. It's wide. There's a little seating
And
area, and then the counter.
Well, I'm just wondering right there, I don't know, how much space do you have to
There.
technically have on a sloped or an angled handicap
So for
stall?
van accessible, you have to have 8 feet.
with an 8-foot stripe
Yeah,
stall.
with 8 foot stripe.
Right. If you were to do
So basically a full nother
a
stall next to it.
non-van, you would have to do 5 feet.
It would go like 9 and 5, but I still don't think you could
Yeah, I
get
don't think
3
you
in
have-
here,
no.
even if you had a
Have the
non-van.
space. But again, as accessibility standards continue to update, they are beginning to implement percentages per block, full square blocks
City, we need to.
that are required to be handicap accessible. Those aren't the implemented regulations right now, but there's speculation that that's what they're heading
Moving towards, yeah.
And
So-
their plan shows to update all of this and make it concrete.
Right.
The roadway would be concrete too?
Not the travel lane, but where the parking space
Parking
ended,
would
this
all be
would
concrete.
be concrete.
So it would just be that section of concrete?
That's what the plan
around
shows.
asphalt.
Right.
Yeah. It would extend out to the drive and cut in like that. Does that make sense?
It would just be concrete down
Yeah.
that whole strip?
So there would be concrete.
So concrete allows us to have much more control over the slopes and the surface, which of course is of utmost importance when you're dealing with accessibility issues. Asphalt is technically a type of fluid. It can change, it can rut, it can freely move much more easily than concrete can. So when we're dealing with accessibility issues, a lot of times concrete is the preferred material, just because it gives you that much more control.
100% agree with that. Yeah, I mean, if you agree to allow ADA space in here and stripe, I would certainly like.
Especially with it being a public facility, I would think that's what we would prefer.
Okay.
How many ADA spaces do they have?
They have one in the back.
One in the back. What's that?
It just seems to me that the ADA space in the back would provide better access because you don't have to get through pedestrian traffic or anything else going on the street. You're more protected from everything. The only thing between you and the building, there's nothing between you and the building. And so getting in, I would think, would be easier from that spot than it would be. Now, once you're in, you may have to go some extra distance, but I would think the safety issue is getting in, as long as everything inside is ADA compliant, which I assume it is.
So technically with this space, they do have to enter the vehicular area to get into the building.
Well, I mean, that's.
The teller space.
No
right
different
there.
than being on the city street. I mean,
Well, no, on the city street, you would go right onto the sidewalk.
Be on that concrete
the
area.
space is right there. How far is it?
It's not a big building.
Isn't that the door right there?
Yes, it's the door.
It's here, right?
Get out of your car.
I think what he's saying is that.
If you're
it could
adding
be-
another
It could
one.
be dangerous for someone in a wheelchair to.
And we're not removing the space per se. we're just adding another accessible space
Still seems to be
closer
safer route
proximity
than the sidewalk to me.
to the front door.
Anybody on the committee? Or not? And there's.
I had to step out for a moment. I don't know if anybody can see.
Sure, go for it.
What was the driver for the request? Was there?
I
Is it
wasn't
corporate
clear on
policy?
why we needed a second one, other than the desire to have one at the front of the building.
That's it, just to have one in front of the building?
Yes, I mean,
Not-
with
not
shorter
policy.
distance, it is generally accepted as more accessible.
Yeah, I understand
But you're not taking the one out in the back.
Seriously.
I can't make a motion.
Do we just make a motion to move it out without approval, without recommendation, or is this?
No, it doesn't.
This has to
This is
decide.
no public hearing. Make a recommendation here. Or
I don't have a public hearing for this one. You're talking about
That's what we were just saying. There is no public hearing.
Request for public.
Yeah, no, there's no public hearing for this.
So she's making a motion to send it out without
No,
recommendation?
I
No,
just
she's wondering what the
to
options
do.
were. That's all.
So is the only concern losing one space?
Yeah, that's a big concern.
I believe
That's
so.
a big-
I understand.
I mean, that's all we hear about from our downtown property owners is parking, and we just restriped that within the last 2 years. I mean, to add 12 more parking spaces, and that was a huge deal.
And it's all public parking on the street.
I mean, I think the advantages are the improved ADA compliance in the right-of-way in front of the PNC Bank, and also, I mean, I haven't heard anybody reference where we actually have a van-accessible parking space along 18th or
We do
29th
have one on
Avenue.
29th because that was part of our striping, so I don't know why it's not showing.
That would be helpful to know
I will
if
go
there's
drive down
one in
29th
that,
Avenue.
in that area.
Do you want to
Part
carry
of
it over
ours.
so we can establish where the other one is?
Because that does make a
No,
difference
we
in my
really,
opinion.
like, it
There's
was,
not one there.
trust me,
then
Sue
I
Graffis
look at
was
it
riding my
different.
ass about that
There's
parking
one there
space.
that gets someone.
That's
because
close.
it's got
Yeah,
access
it must
to
be
that.
up by Big Bad Breakfast,
Yeah,
but
if that was an
there is one
oversight,
there.
then I would see adding one
Yeah,
as
no,
an
no, there was
advantage.
definitely one there. I mean, because I had to monitor it, and I mean, I
Yeah.
put it on the agenda in August, and I don't think it got done until the next 6 months. I mean, I don't remember if it was 2020, but trust me, you know, Sue
Yeah.
Graffis is giving me a hard time about that thing. So,
Yeah.
I don't know why. And because I know we talked when I don't know, it was me and Wyatt. I can't remember who would it have been. Me and Greg. It was before. Was it before Kale?
It was way before me, but not way.
Not
So
way.
then my
It wasn't
question-
way before you, 'cause it was in the last couple of years, but we talked about the ones at the A-Loft. I mean, we went through the whole thing, and there are a million places in the city. You know, we have a lot of ADA work that we need to do, and I feel like we're giving up a public parking space for a business that's not very big, that already has a
Dedicated space. in the
dedicated
back.
space right by the back door, and it's not a big building. That's my bank. I go in there all the time.
I mean,
So,
I agree with you
it
there.
looks like
If
that
it was-
ADA space is the next block over.
Yeah,
And it's not a van accessible space.
Does the complete street thing, ordinance say that there needs to be one within a certain?
I don't know, it doesn't address
Okay.
that parking. I
Okay.
think parking requirements are normally separate, but I could be,
It is also on the other side of the street.
yeah. So,
The one I'm talking
and
about, there
if
is
you
one
were
on the
not
side of
to-
the street that we did with this project, so I would have to, I'll drive down the street when I leave here, but that, I know that was.
Can we
Counselor
carry this
Galway.
over? We need to get moving.
Hold on,
Yeah.
sorry guys, I
We've got
can't
these other
hear.
people have been waiting a
Hey.
long time.
Counselor Hart, hold on, hold
Yeah,
on,
I'm
hold
gonna
on,
carry
just
it
a
over.
second, hold on. Go ahead, Counselor Galway.
I was saying, to Councilor Anderson's point, we did hire GMC to form a striping plan that included ADA accessibility, so I believe it's been looked at. I would imagine it meets the requirements. I think we'll probably follow up with GMC to confirm that, and they can tell us. There is an ADA spot that is van compliant, I believe, in front of, used to be the other chicken biscuit place, now Holler Bash, not Holler Bash.
Oh,
Pickle
that's
biscuit.
true,
Yeah,
yeah,
Pickle biscuit.
that's, yeah.
There was a spot there that was added when we started working on the east side, west side,
Yeah, 'cause she's
side of,
18.
North Communication. And and now I believe there are additional spaces being added on the west side, just for clarification.
That's great clarification, thank you.
Okay.
I
Counselor,
remember her coming.
Counselor Harden?
It's not the one, she was upset about the Maple Street one too, but she can.
I'd like to make a request to carry it over.
All right, we'll go ahead and carry this over. Let's see, what's the best way to verify these other spots?
I'll verify other spots
Okay.
along 29th
That would be great.
to see
That'd be great.
where we are.
Okay. We will carry that over without objection. New business 070922, request for consideration to work in this right-of-way adjacent to 407 Hollywood Boulevard and 2305 Montevallo Road. Melinda Sellers and President Wyatt.
So this is a little bit of an unusual thing. Brian's pulling it up. So this is right on the line between Mountain Brook and Homewood. There's which church is it?
Shades Valley Pres.
Shades Valley Presbyterian.
Yeah.
It's
On the other side of
currently on this
231
property.
Red Mountain Express.
All of the property is in Mountain
Shades
Brook,
what?
except for the shaded area right here and the alley.
Huh.
Those are both in Homewood, but it's all part of the same parcel.
Huh?
So,
Express oil changes.
so
What's that?
Express oil changes.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just don't have my bearings on where this
So
is.
Hollywood
this is
Boulevard's right there.
the bridge is right here, and then this is Montevallo Road.
Or Hollywood is supposed to be.
Express oil changes right here.
The ramp.
Well, I'm sorry, the ramp. And express oil change, and then the ramp to get off of 280
Okay.
to Hollywood.
Okay.
And so right now, this is a church and a parking lot that goes back here. All of this is Mountain Brook. This little section of this same tax parcel is in Homewood. And the alley is Homewood. They are asking to improve this alley, which is not a bad thing for us because we got a piece of land that's landlocked right here. Now, they own this piece of land and may or may not decide to do something with it, but we can deal with that later.
They own the stripes?
Yeah, they own the whole thing.
Yep.
All they're asking for tonight is for permission to improve this alley to provide access to all of this. In my opinion, that's really only going to benefit Homewood because regardless of what happens with this piece of land, this is the only access to it, and right now, there's nothing there.
There's no alleyway.
There's
currently.
a parking lot that's sort of kind of on the alley, but it's not it's not an actual.
It's not well defined.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the request right now is just about the alley. Have I left anything out?
No, you
did.
No, you did.
Or are y'all asleep after having waited this long and listened to everything?
Sometimes less is more.
You should have said that a couple hours ago.
Yeah, there's a survey there that shows what's there now.
Yeah, so there's the church, this is all the parking lot, and here's the alley.
Gotcha.
So when you say they're gonna improve it, they're,
You're making a road.
okay, and we will own the road? We'll have to maintain the road and all that?
Well, no, I don't think so.
Our folks I'm Charlie Beavers, and please represent John Chapman. His company has bought the property. Linda Sellers is here with us. She helped us figure out what was where. And then Anders Phillips is an engineer with Shoal Engineering, if y'all had any questions on it. But the alley, our folks would agree to maintain all the improvements at their expense as a part of an association that will be responsible for common elements within the development.
And the ongoing future maintenance, not just the current.
That's right.
All the upkeep.
Year on out, yeah. And just for what it's worth, our anticipation is that there would be
significant improvement home there on Providence and Homewood that you might very well like to have there, that would incorporate it into the development. If you,
In other words,
you would like to have it.
if you
There'd
go
be
back,
one house next to a bunch of
go,
townhouses.
go back, Brian.
Oh, no, these are single-family
Yeah,
homes.
these are single family.
Single-family homes,
These
okay.
lots are gonna sell in the $1 million lot range. They expect the values of homes to
Tell
be
me if I'm
$2.5,
wrong.
$3.5 million.
These two are condo buildings up on the
Right.
Montevallo, and then all of these are single family homes.
Okay.
They may choose to put another one on the other side of the
We,
road.
we plan to put one there.
The hashed mark is that's the only plot that's Homewood right there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that everybody involved in this, for the longest time, deep into the development, planning, everything, thought all this was in Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook zoning map showed it was in Mountain Brook, tax assessor showed it was in Mountain Brook, Homewood said it's not in Homewood. We know why all that happened. We researched, it took us a long time. This whole thing has been developed at great expense, thinking it was in Mountain Brook. And so now we find out it's in Homewood, so we're here too. But we think that if you would like to have one of those homes, and the original plan showed a home like that on that lot. And that's what they would like to do. And they would be happy for it to be in Homewood if Homewood would like to have it. We'll have to come to you for zoning.
Right, that's gonna be a whole different
It's a
item.
different request, yes.
And quite frankly, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, Mountain Brook is, y'all haven't gotten approval for the rest of it in
We're in
Mountain
the
Brook.
process.
And they're in the process of that, so I don't think we should even,
Right.
get to that point until Mountain Brook says the rest of it's happening, right? But even if none of this happens, an improvement of that road is not a bad thing for
Sure.
Homewood.
But they won't do it unless everything goes forward anyway.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
But even if they did, even if for some reason they did, I mean, it's
Remind
still
me,
different.
do we stipulate how long we're giving access to work in the right of way?
As long as it took the construction.
So I mean, if it takes them 2 years, I'm just hypothetical. If it takes 2 years for Mountain Brook to approve it, our access to work in the right of way is still good. There's not a timeline that expires
That's
in.
limited, but
Okay,
really one goes with the other.
sure.
They don't want to improve.
I just wanted to make sure. I couldn't remember if granting access to work in the right of way
Expired.
carried a certain term with it.
No.
Okay,
They'll be good.
okay.
We're just going to give them permission to make pavement and roadway improvements in that alley.
Right, okay.
Should we put a contingent on the approval of the rest of the
I don't
development?
see why.
I don't
Personally.
I don't think so for two reasons. One, I can't imagine them spending the money to do that unless they were doing this. But even if for some reason they did,
So what?
that still is a help to us because it's
Okay.
providing access
But
to
I
this
mean-
property
but I
that we
mean,
don't
we're
have right now.
looking- I know, but we talk about looking at what we have to maintain and so forth, so I just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they just proffered to maintain
But
it if
that
they
was
approve
with the
it.
development.
No. They said if we're granting right-of-way
Okay.
access, they
Okay.
will
Okay.
maintain it.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, I move to grant access for request for consideration of road work in the right of way at 407 Hollywood Boulevard and 2304 Montevallo Road.
Along with their proffer, is that right, Mike? To maintain it?
And indemnification.
With
Yeah.
whatever
Our folks
indemnification.
will understand they'll enter an agreement.
Okay.
Did you sign in, sir, please?
Motion by Counselor Gear, second by Counselor
must sign
Sims,
here.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who was your second?
Alright.
Sam.
Thank you.
Alright,
We saw five.
there's four. There's only been four for this committee.
Okay.
The whole time. Alright, so we stand adjourned.